Picture this. You're in a 1v1 post-plant scenario on defense. You enter site and have no idea where the enemy is as the clock ticks down. Do you clear? Do you check? You're running out of time. What do? So many thoughts are running through your head. You ask your clo for a smoke and they smoke bomb. You tap it once and no one sprays or comes into the smoke as you hold. So, okay, you're gonna tap it again because surely they have to imagine that you stick it to half, right? No, they don't stop you at all. You get it to half, get off, and no one sprays or does anything. Okay, you're gonna tap it now and then you're gonna hold your weapon out because surely they push now, right? Because you got it to half, you could just, diffuse out of nowhere. Nope. Well, if they're not gonna check, I guess I'm going to get the half and just stick it and just win the round. But nope, they're gonna randomly jump in with the classic and 150 you in the middle of the air. This is Valorant. You see, in this scenario, you could have played it wrong 5 different ways and won, but because you played fundamental and correct, you lost. All the videos you watch, strategies, tactics that are fundamental that you know are correct didn't work in this situation and actually cost you the round. So what does this mean? Why did it not work? Why does meta strategies simply not work in low elo? Well, let's break it down. The first thing that you need to understand is that enemies will not always play quote unquote properly. You'll have players that swing for absolutely no reason. They'll randomly check a flank even if their team is in the middle of a fight. They're not gonna fall for any bait because they don't quite understand what you're trying to imply with your play or the information you're given. Let's take that first example, right? If you tap the spike and get off, they might predict that you're not gonna full stick it, right? But at that second tap and getting it to the half, or maybe even full sticking it, you have to imagine that your opponents could think that you're not in a position to deny them and stick it all the way through. So you have to clear and check on the second tap almost 100% of the time, at least spray, but also manually going into the smoke and checking is perfectly fine. But not doing that, you're just gambling and praying. But that's actually something that happens a lot when players don't know what they should or shouldn't do. They're not playing by the rules. They're not playing to fit into any meta or play style. They're just doing what they want to do based off their intuition. And I've said this many times, but your intuition is actually not very good if you're in the low elos of play. In fact, most players, even players in higher elos of play, have bad intuition. Plays that are good are based on logic, but plays that are random and sometimes work and sometimes don't are played based on intuition and instinct. And that's one of the reasons why some players will have games where they just pop off and then they play the exact same the next game and they just get dominated. It's because they don't fall into that working. It's pretty random whether it works or it doesn't. But going back to your enemies, they're going to play like this all the time. They're also more likely to rely on cheap tactics, running and gunning, shotgun stingers, things like this that you could run into that mean that more things that are fundamental, logical, strategic are gonna fail in the face of a Bucky around the corner or a judge hiding in a smoke. In addition to that, there's a lot more risk. Players will take crazy risks even if it should get punished, but it doesn't. So like as an example, let's say they're playing Ascent on defense and they're just gonna randomly walk knife out to wine. Even if an opponent just swings that, they're gonna see them and kill them for free, or if they just get cleared, they're gonna die. But maybe they just try for these super high risk plays that maybe work out, maybe don't. And that's just one example of the randomness, the additional RNG when players don't fit into any mold. Now, there's a lot of other things that we could talk about, like the fact that fakes never work, people don't play agents correctly. There's so many different things that kind of add up to meta just not working in low elo. But does that mean that we should ignore all meta strategies, all proper strategies, all proper compositions, and the way that things are properly played, and throw it out the window? How do we succeed in low elo when there's this extra amount of randomness and still thrive in this environment? Now, the simple thing that you could hone to have that consistency is your mechanical skill. Tactics, compositions, and how your opponents play every single game will change dramatically from game to game in low elo, and you need something that's the bedrock to your value and impact every single game, and that's simply your mechanical skill. That being said, something that I hear from a lot of players is that they know that their mechanics are bad, but they believe they can get better. They've tried aim training, warm-ups, and everything in between, and nothing they do improves their aim. This could be a really frustrating feeling where you're looking at all these great aimers and you just can't emulate it even though you're trying. But that's the thing. That's what we specialize here at SkillCapped, helping players that feel like they can improve. And on our website, we have an aim god course course that has helped so many people that feel stuck, unable to improve their mechanics, actually break through that limit and start to improve and become great aimers, and you can too. I know what that frustration is like. No one should have to live with bad aim ever, and let's turn you into a one-tap demon in the links down below. Now, the other thing that you can do to succeed in low elo is actually have a better control over information. I think oftentimes players are more simplistic in the way they respond to no information. Like, you will see this oftentimes where an enemy doesn't know you're there and they're just gonna run with their knife out just across. They don't really consider you lurking up somewhere or you being in a position that they don't know you're there. So just by controlling your information alone, you're gonna get a lot of extra value. And basically what I'm saying here is that you're not putting the ball in the opponent's court. You're not saying, hey, I'm gonna tap the spike, let's see how you respond, if you respond properly or not. What you are doing is you are just making sure to control your own play and your own output of information and waiting for opponents to make mistakes into you, which they're gonna make a lot of them. Because when players are only instinctual and they don't do anything based on fundamentals or logic, they will feed away a lot of bad bits of information to you. They're going to do things that are pretty lazy, and these lazy habits are going to be things that you could take advantage of. Now, number 3 is something that I cannot stress enough. Simple and effective strategies are one of the best ways to succeed in low elo. And when I say a simple, effective strategy, I'm just talking about a combination of really powerful things, proactive things that just work, right? A great example of this is like a neon wall combined with a gecko flash and a neon sliding out. This is really simple, but any enemy that is trying to play to, play in open space, any enemy that is trying to be aggressive, any enemy that's in the area is not going to be able to turn on the flash. They're going to have to shoot it, which puts the ball in their court to perform something mechanically more difficult than average. And they are most of the time going to get overwhelmed and just die. And you're being proactive, you're doing something powerful, and you're putting it into the opponent's court to say, hey, what are you going to do to this thing? This thing is something that is going to get value. It's going to take your main. It's going to get spiked down. What are you going to do to stop us? And most of the time, they're not going to have a great answer. They're not going to have a great way to deal with that. And they're just going to lose because they don't really know how to set up a counter strategy to shut down an effective one. Because some of these really powerful proactive strategies, a jet dashing into a smoke combined with multiple pieces of information, utility, or blinds or something like that, that's strong and requires strategy and logic to deal with it. They have to look at that and say, how do I deal with this? I need a teammate to play off me. I need utility for retake. We need to play here and here. Just by doing something really powerful and simple, you're making it really easy on your team and your side to get value, while at the same time making it so that opponents have a problem that they have to solve. You're almost like putting them to the test, and not in the same way that we talked about with the spike press, where they need to respond in a certain way and you need to predict how they respond and you're trying to figure out how they respond. Here, it's kind of like, I'm going to show you my hand. It's strong. What are you going to do about it? And if you can't do anything about it, we're going to win. Now, there's a lot of strategies that you can use to give you a huge leg up in low elo, but if you want to know more about those, definitely check out SkillCapped. We have a video coming out about that in a couple of weeks, so you can also subscribe. Thank you so much for coming by. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you next time.